This is your weekend market recap for Friday, April 14th, 2023. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max of eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market review for Friday, April 14th, 2023. Let's get into it. If you have any questions, please reach out. I hopefully had a good week. A lot of interesting data come out this week. A lot of things are potentially what I would say looks like the market is on the precipice of turning, but I guess, it's hard to know for sure. We have OPEX next week, which is usually choppy, but the VIX is closed in the 17 range. Whew, tough to know. If you're newer to trading, need some help, please check out the Discord room. Link is in description below. Going forward next week, keep in mind earnings is fully underway as of literally today, Friday. The bank earnings came out. Bank earnings hit or miss. Some of the banks better than others. Again, not surprised JP Morgan did better considering deposits were flowing in as people were rushing out of all of these small regional banks. At this point, it's interesting to see. A lot of people think that earnings have bottomed, meaning the peak pain of earnings are in. I think we're not even close. I think we're just starting to see the surface of how bad it can get and get worse as the recession grows. Keep in mind, last year we may have had a small recession, but that was based on what? Just kind of where we were, the Fed's taking money and liquidity out of the system. Well, now they've raised rates, and they've raised rates significantly. They've never navigated a soft landing. And also, too, one of the things that people don't realize is that rate increases have a lagging effect, 3-6 months. So keep in mind, the rates as they've been increasing them are going to affect the market in the summer, into the spring, or into the fall. Now, will the market start pricing that in? That's where it gets interesting. That's where I think you got to be smart. You got to have defined risk, and you got to know that you could be wrong and that the market can chop for as long as it needs to. So let's get into a little more of this. Again, join the Discord room. Link is in the description below. Please follow on Twitter. Dropping a lot of things that I always think are important. People need to pay attention to. I mean, essentially the trucking bloodbath. I mean, this is crazy how this spot price per mile has just dropped like off a cliff. But that's what happens when you get into a recession. Again, commercial real estate, there's so many things going on out there that I think the market is ignoring. Again, as I like to say, whistling past the graveyard when things are bad, and then when things are, as at the lows, I mean, everything is bad, right? And so we'll see. Keep that in mind. If you're newer to trading, want to get involved in the Discord room, Twitter, whatever, the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Did another live review today. I think it's worth reviewing. Back to Basics series. Well, guess what? It is OPEX. I would, again, watch the OPEX videos. What is options expiration? What does it mean? Why is it important? I mean, CHOPEX. I mean, that's what it can be. But keep in mind, when we come into OPEX at the lows and the VIX, that's where it can be a little tricky, right? Because how much lower can the VIX go? We'll get into that as we get closer. The inflation data that came out from the University of Michigan Sentiment today, I think, really pushed rates lower, and the odds that a Fed rate hike in May is more likely than ever. Keep in mind, they're anticipating, was the pivot supposed to start in, potentially start in September, even July. Are we at July? No, not really. But point being is there's still rate hikes coming. And I think they're going to, and again, if the Feds are smart, they need to raise rates above the inflation level to kill inflation and not let it entrench itself, because inflation is sticky. If it sustains and stays in the higher 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% area, the Feds will not be able to unwind it. And that's why I've always said I think that the job of the Feds, if they're smart, considering unemployment at the rates that it is, 3.5%, they need to raise rates, kill inflation, reset the economy as needed. Because again, higher rates for longer, slow rolling inflation, it's going to be just as painful, maybe if not more painful than any other solution out there. And again, it'll bring money into the bond market, it'll bring money into the dollar. It will help create credibility. All right, Bitcoin holding up. Said keep an eye on this 30,500 level. We are chopping around it. Now, could it go over in the weekend? I mean, not surprised. I mean, remember, the weekend's a little, I don't know, what's the best way to describe it? A little more of the wild, wild west with Bitcoin. Keep an eye on it. Because, again, maybe you get up to 32,000. We'll see. Oil, Feds got to hate this. They got to hate how oil is going higher. And just keep in mind, OPEC did a big cut recently, right? In the last couple of weeks, 1.5 million barrels. Do you think they're cutting supply because demand is amazingly strong? No, it's because they see what's going to happen. A recession usually does what to oil? Kills demand. They have too much supply. Guess what? Prices go lower. I think they're trying to build a higher floor. Not surprised it held one of our levels in the mid 60s. Now what? Keep an eye on it. Nat gas. Every day. What do you think, Dan? What do you think? What do you think? I think it's going to be sloppy and choppy. Just leave it the F alone. All right, let's get into the dollar because this is where it's getting interesting, right? Filled the gap. Now, again, dollar gap's not really as important because the dollar's always trading. But one of the things I noticed was, we were holding this level. We gapped below it. And look what happened today. We rallied right back. This area right here is very important. Personally, I think, and I've said this a multitude of times, many times, the dollar, if people think the dollar ends, it's going to blow off first, meaning upside before it dies. I think the Feds are going to try to do what they can to reestablish credibility, fight the BRICS. Keep in mind, U.S. has gone to war many times over just defending the dollar. Do you think they're not going to go nuclear when it comes to trying to defend the dollar for the long term, or at least try? It's just hard to imagine they wouldn't. TLT, again, the inflation stuff came out in the University of Michigan survey. Not good if they're trying to kill inflation. Future inflation, they're expecting to be higher. But let's see what happens. We're in a big trading range. 109 to what? 103? Just chopping. So keep an eye on it. If you have any questions, again, I personally think rates will go lower once the Fed raises to their terminal rate because, again, that will create a recession, right? The recession does what? Pushes rates down, lower growth. We're just in this choppy range at the moment. Keep an eye on it. The VIX, again, this is crazy. 17 level? What? Are you kidding me? What's crazy, too, is the market has peaked lower highs and the VIX coming down. That's interesting to me. Keep an eye on it. Now, again, I say this what feels like every video. If you think the VIX is going to have peaked, then you don't know bear markets. You don't know the VIX. Look, we've had many gyrations up into the 50s. These are bear markets or big drops. Look where we're at. We never got above 38. I personally think it's zero chance in hell that the bottom is in the market. It's just when. That becomes a question. Are we building up the base before a spike? That's my thinking, right? Keep an eye on it. SPY. 20-month, here it is, right? Here it is, rolling over, 20-month. Again, keep in mind, this thing has stayed above the 20-month, closed above it, and sustained above it. If we went below, it's just temporarily, but look at the 20-month, curling down, you're back testing it. Don't be surprised if this is where we start failing. And again, it's just testing the test. Look at today's action, Doji on decent volume. Rally into the close, yeah, a little frustrating. I mean, as a bear, not going to hide that, not ideal. So just keep an eye on it. QQQ starting to lag a little bit. We'll see, because considering the SPY is just chopping up, this looks like it's a little laggy. Another wick above 320. Same thing with the monthly. Not looking so great. IWM, we said watch for it lagging. Look at this big range again. We talked about 179 level being crucial. Think about Qs, SPY way up here, IWM way down here, lagging. Remember, small caps lead the market. If it continues to lag, you should not expect the market to continue to rise higher. DIA, Boeing today was a big deal, down 3, 4, 5% into the next chop zone. Again, needs to stay above the December lows or things could get a lot worse. Gold, again, I don't want to feel vindicated for saying be careful with it, but I feel like I have to say it because a lot of people are getting really frustrated with the fact I'm saying, please be careful with gold. I don't trust it up here. Look at all this gappy choppiness. And then you have a doji yesterday. Now you gap down. Watch what happens. If it closes at 185, and this is why people are like, oh, you got it. I'll just raise my stop. And it's like, why not take profits into strength? Because what can happen, drop $5 instantaneously. Feels like nothing. Gold and the miners can get absolutely super volatile. And so if you're just holding out for the big, long move, I'm telling you, I think the best, and I've said this a billion times, the best time to own gold, silver, the miners will when the Feds are prepared to pivot. They're not prepared to pivot. Look at today's action in silver. Retest up near 2020, 21, 22 highs with Ukraine. Big red bar. Big red bars precede big red down moves. just keep that in mind. GDX, same thing. I mean, again, I'm happy for folks who've been bullish, but I'm telling you, you got to be careful. If you don't know how, when the volatility spikes, they throw the baby out of the bathwater. They will absolutely destroy miners. They have credit risk. They have problems. They're part of the market. Again, there'll be an asset class that will get wiped out. I mean, if you don't believe me, go check the last time the VIX spiked because of recession. They beat the crap out of these things, and then you bought them, and they went to the moon. Now it's cool that they're up higher. I mean, to me, it validates. I think you will not see the ultimate destruction that potentially could be, but it should put in higher lows, and that's when I think the time will be to reload all of them. And again, if you want to hold them, you do it. You do you. I'm just trying to warn people that repeating patterns, they will smash miners. They will absolutely smash miners. AG hits at the 100, 200 day. Look at today's action. Not so hot. AEM, this one's been leading up. Doji, keep an eye on it. Newmont, been lagging hard. Said it's interesting. It's not even close to its earlier higher early, the highs from earlier in the year. Yeah, got to get that right. Now look at it. That's ominous. Be careful. Again, the mega caps are the ones that are going to have to spend money. They have to devalue their balance sheet. They're going to have to just, not good, devalue their balance, more like devalue their stock. So anyway, just keep an eye on it. 20-day key for PAAS. I personally don't trust any of them. Tech. Semis are leading lower. Look at this. Below the 20-day, lagging. Keep an eye on it. Nvidia. Pop today. I don't really know why. But under the 20-day, keep an eye on it. Tau on Semi. I've loved this thing. Think it's a piece of junk. 100-day. Keep an eye on it, right? Keep an eye on it. Intel. Talked about this peaking out. All these names look like they peaked out. Hits the monthly trend line. Right? You know, you probably, let me show you. I'll show you on the monthly or the weekly. See it on the weekly, maybe better. Where are you at? Oh, there you are. This line matters, and we're hitting it in the 50 week after coming off the lows. Be careful. Again, I don't trust any of these semiconductors. If you don't understand why semiconductors, watch previous reviews and recaps. I would go into many more details. SMH, talked about lagging, right? QQQ's trying to make trying to get up to the highs, but this thing's under the 20-day. Doji, keep an eye on it. Adobe, talked about M-topping. M-top. 20-day, keep an eye on it. Apple, again, people are like, Nancy Pelosi exercised some options. She bought 100,000 shares worth of Apple. Pretty sure she had call options. She exercised them. Don't be surprised if she sells the stock. Right? Don't be surprised. Either way, I mean, if you think Apple again, they're expecting revenue to drop 40%. The worst is in. I don't believe it is. Watch the 20-day. Watch for lower highs. It's choppy, choppy, choppy. If you're not familiar, there's two types of tops. There's V-tops, and then there's chop tops. This feels like the chop top. Amazon, been stuck here in the 100 range, just doo-doo pie. Leave it alone. CRM, talked about hitting the 200 level, backing off. Holding the 20, riding the lightning, as I call it. Guggenheim, held up pretty well today. Interesting, looks like Tesla and a bunch of other companies are just continue to compete for AI stuff. I mean, again, if you're buying companies based on AI, you already missed the move, friends. AI is going to be free and everywhere. It's going to be a feature. It's not some sort of money-hoarding, great revenue-inducing mechanism. It's just going to literally be a part of everything. Every company's going to be doing it. Meta, sticky at the highs. Sticky at the highs. What can I say? Wrong. How much higher can it go? Now it's just like, again, I've said on the monthly, it's just making the wick. I don't know how much higher. It's still dog crap. Instagram is dying. Meta is for old people. I mean, again, the marketing on it never. I mean, again, as someone who's used Meta for marketing for real estate, it's by far the worst. Unless you have a Facebook group, it is the worst platform to invest in and spend money. And then also, too, I got something they're offering $600 for testing. Like, they know they've got issues. But we'll see. Microsoft, again, lagging, chopping at the highs. Chop top. NDAQ, talked about them. Supposedly, they're going to be trying to put in some sort of crypto exchange and work that into the NASDAQ. Okay, that's interesting. Nice little bounce. But keep in mind, NASDAQ tech stocks in general are going to be lagging donkeys for a long period of time. That's the case, then guess what? It's already showing it. It ain't the same. Things ain't the same, huh? MicroStrategy, again, Bitcoin up here. Keep an eye on it, right? Like up at the range, next resistance range highs. The BAP zone here, if Bitcoin goes higher, it should go higher. Netflix, things been wide and loose at the highs. Wide and loose at the highs, chopping. Talked about this range in the mid to upper 340s and backside the trend line. Whew. Looks like it's going to go at some point. Roblox, nowhere, stuck in the chop zone. Keep an eye on it. Tesla, every day they talk, I mean, it feels like every day. Price correction, dropping price. I feel like we're in this chop cycle. Here's the game. I mean, hold on, let me zoom it out. There's the game over candle in red with the biggest volume. Now we're just making lower highs, lower lows in time. Again, if you think tech is worth holding long term, you don't know the market. That's all I can say. Letter X, again, materials should be leading up if things are, Feds are going to pivot, not just gold. No, these things look weak, down near the range lows. Nucor, same kind of thing, getting stuck here in the 140s. You would think this thing would be up in the 170s, 180s. The market was strong. Nope, can't get over the 20-day. We talked about Caterpillar, former leader, now lagging hard. No bueno. No good. VALE, same thing, chopping around, lagging, lagadocious. Arrow, copper. Now, this copper name holding up better. Can't say this is this is one that is holding up. Out of the 20 that I, not 20, like 50 names I look at quickly, and then the hundreds of names that I look at all the time, this one's holding up the best. Interesting wick, though, today. I'm trying to see. Let me go check the closing 10-minute bar. I'd be curious to see if people are distributing at the highs. Huh. They're distributing at the AM, actually. That's interesting. Whoa, look at that. Here you go. Check out the 10-minute. Open 7:30. Remember, I'm on Mountain Standard. Rallies. Kapow. Kelly Kapowski. Somebody was selling. So we'll keep an eye on it. That feels kind of distributive to me. Run it up in the first hour of the day and then sell it. CCJ, as I warned, we talked about, like, there's this big resistance. Not big, but I guess reoccurring resistance. And the 50-day. Doji, lower high. Again, these names should be ripping. They're not. CF. We talked about there was a bounce here. Cool. Maybe it's the 50-day filling the gap. Be careful here. Again, market comes down, everything comes down. Mosaic got an upgrade today. That is not how you want to act on an upgrade today. That is like the buddy pass for sailing. I can't remember who the brokerage who upgraded, but I mean, if you upgrade a stock and you're literally touting it all day and this is what happens, that means you and your friends were unloading into it. NTR, chopping, holding over the 20-day, but again, long wick. These things look like they just got to play the chop and dance crap move, whatever you want to call it. Look at this. AA again. None of these names look like they're ready to go, right? You sit here, you go, oh, everything's great. And it's like, they don't really feel that great. They don't really look that great. Just throwing a name out there that, again, moved the market today. Good old Boeing having what seems like never-ending problems. Gap down, Doji, 100-day. 100-day, clearly importante. Keep an eye on it. Financials. Right? Interesting candle today. Would you agree? We talked about holding this 32. Could it even get up into the 33 range? Well, you did. You did, clearly. But remember, on the weekly, monthly, there was a bounce off of the 30 level, which, again, if you watch previous recap, zoom out, you'll see why. It's the old 2009 highs, too. Interesting action. Doji today, as exciting as people were excited about financials. JP Morgan. Gap up. Is that a professional gap or a novice gap trap? Keep an eye on it. Again, I think the shorts on the financials are very obvious. Morgan Stanley has earnings next week. Be careful. Chopping around. Goldman Sachs earnings next week. I think they are Morgan Stanley's next Wednesday. Goldman's Tuesday. Remember, we're getting into earnings. Pops up here. Old resistance. Keep an eye on it. Now, again, financials, some of the banks did not do good today. What was it? PNC, Wells Fargo weren't doing so hot. Do we need to look at all of them? No. Again, we clearly understand why JP Morgan why it was up. People were running to the mega caps to hide money as there's a banking crisis literally going on and people are moving money out of the markets. Keep that in mind. Good old XBI. Now, this feels a little better because again, we were like, man, this seems very trappish. Retests some ranges, starts peeling back some. That makes sense. Again, think about this though. XBI is like it's like a small tech, small cap tech stuff, right? Like stuff should be up in the 90s, 80s. No, it is lagging hard. Solar, pop, flop, chop. Again, hits the 100, 200 day cross. ENPH, popping, chopping. You got a little range here around 215. Flop. Sedgerton gets up to 310. Man, right on the dot. Somebody was ready. Cannot close over this 50-100 day cross. We'll see what happens. Been chopping. First Solar. Things that you don't see if the market's bullish, right? This name is just looks like it's already peaked. 20 day. Just give it time. HYG. We keep an eye on this one just because it's, junk debt. It feels very distributive yesterday. Somebody bought that or somebody got suckered in. And now you're chopping around, keep an eye on it. End it with oil. Again, don't USO, UNG kind of crappy products, but just keep an eye on it. Chopping around 3-day range. UNG, we talked about. Please don't ask. Please don't buy it. Again, unless set your stop if you have to. This thing just deteriorates. XOP holding up, considering the market did rally too, but a little doji. We talked about like you're up at the trend line, right? You're at the 100, 200 day cross after a big bounce, right? 114, 135. You do the math. It's a solid bounce. If the economy is great, maybe it rips higher. If it's not, it should pull back. ExxonMobil said watch this 115 to 117 range. Just tight. Those are all all-time highs. Oxy, you would think everyone, Buffett pumping this and talking about it. It feels like he sold it to cover calls. It's stuck at the 200 day. It doesn't really look that good. PXD, there are talks of getting bought out at ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is really bad about buying companies at inflection points. That would make sense potentially if that rumor, or those rumors are meant for what? Trapping, the buddy pass. Keep an eye on it. EQT, not a whole lot of nothing. Leave it alone. Flex LNG, chopping. Nice little candle yesterday, breaking the trend. So watch what happens here. Again, I think in time we will export more natural gas. That's just me thinking out loud. If you have any questions, please reach out. Please stop by the website, www.thetradingagent.com. Join the newsletter. Again, this little sign up, I'm going to send out things occasionally that I think are important for people for trading. Again, if you just want also to be included in some of the emails that I'll send out. If you're part of the Discord room, cool. All this stuff is just kind of meant to keep people informed of what's going on. I still think at some point, though, people need to be on the radar for what? Real estate. If you're making money, stashing money away, first thing I would do, probably use that Goldman Sachs Marcus account. Get your money market accounts, 4.75. Stabilize your cash. I mean, think about the math on it. It's pretty solid. And if you're doing such, right, you're paying you got a high interest rate for saving money. I think at some point interest rates will drop dramatically. That might be the time to snag some really good buys in housing, because I think long term, we talked about this, there's a shortage in inventory. Will inventory pick up potentially as unemployment rises? But we still have shortages. I've said this and I'll say it and I'll end it with this rant. From 1970s to 2009, essentially we built 25 to 28 million houses a year. After that, from then till now, we've been doing 5 to 6 million homes a year run rate. There's a huge shortage. People are still coming flooding into this country. Well, certain markets, certain areas are great. I mean, if you want to take money and invest it safely into real estate, now a lot of people argue about it. I'm like, again, if you think of it as a long-term trade, you buy something, someone pays the mortgage, the rents go up over time, your ROIs increase. And if you don't know all the tax advantages of real estate, holy crap. Awesome. They are great. They can help reduce your income. It's reportable to the IRS. Lots of little tax advantages. Amazing. All your expenses, all that stuff. It's like running many little businesses. Every single one of your investment properties or investment projects is another 401k with amazing tax advantages. So, have any questions, please reach out. I appreciate everybody's support, love. I know this is hard. Chop is brutal. But I tried to explain this earlier in the live market review. Did you see the IWM for all of 2021 literally went nowhere in a chop range? That can happen. So, have a great weekend. Do some do some studying, educate yourself, watch some videos, and I will talk to you guys and gals later. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, your PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.